Hello, Wasteland! Yes, welcome back, brothers! That's right, we are here to look at Gaslands UK's Car of the Month competition video for December 2023, the last month of the 4th season, my brothers. That's right. As always, I am your host, James Hall of JH Miniatures, and this episode has been kindly sponsored and brought to us by Anvil Industries. So before we get too far into today's episode, can we give a massive shout out thank you to Anvil Industries and their continued sponsorship of this fine competition of ours. You know who Anvil are, I know who Anvil are. They're one of our newer sponsors joining up last year. However, they have a fantastic range of resin bits on their website, both for 28mm scale wargaming, Gaslands, but of course the king of games with vehicle upgrades, weapons and compatible parts across their ranges. Again, a massive thank you to Anvil Industries for sponsoring this month's competition. Check out the link in the description box down below. Anvil have put up prizes for first, second, third place and a honourable mention prize. Oh yes, so first place we have a £35 gift voucher, in second a £25 gift voucher, and in third a £15 gift voucher, and a £10 giveaway to an honourable mention as chosen by the Anvil Creative Design team. Oh yes. So with a sponsor like this, with a year like the one we've had, you know we had to go big this month, and we wanted you to push yourselves to the absolute limit, and we wanted to see the biggest and the best builds you could come up with. That's right, we wanted to see the end stage boss builds of the Wasteland. We wanted to see the golden tuskers, we wanted to see the people eaters, we wanted to see what the CEO from Mars would ride around in if he deigns to gift us with his presence. Oh yes, and what can I say? As always, you guys have not disappointed. We've had such a variety, from cyberpunk inspired limousines to some absolute beasts of the Wasteland that would make any warlord blush. What can I say? I'm a massive fan of some of the work that you've put out this month. 26 finished entrants. Yes, my friends, 26 finished entrants. So let us run from now. We have from the top Adam Pollard, Andy Taylor, Clint Agius, Daniel Mumford, David Bousset, David Traves, Derek Green, Esme Grace, Hardo Pius, Ingvar Niebsen, Jody Sims, John Simpson Wedge, returning champion from last month, might I add, Jorel Bessie, Kev Williams, Kilgore MJ, Martin Page, Matt Morrill, that absolute heavyweight titan of the competition this year, Matt Whittam, Michael Mersey, Michael Quinn, Mick Van Fiven. Yes, my friend, it is good to see you taking part again. Nick Kitch, Richard Fairbrass, Richard Hubbard, Rob Churchill, and of course, Sam Wessels. But before we start to look at the beautiful cars, Ian Dakin, we need to talk. So I know we've given you the wooden spoon before now. This is not a wooden spoon. This is just a standard disqualification, my friend. You have to email your finished entries in for them to count in this competition. And this has been going on for months. This has been going on all year. You do these amazing builds and we want to talk about them and we can't because you don't email them in. I mean, look at this beautiful, cyberpunk themed limousine that you've done for the absolute corporate lords of this post-apocalyptic raceway that we call a home. And yet, I can't focus on it. I can't look at it. I can't talk about it. I can't point out all the things you've done really well or need to pick up on because you are not emailing in your finished entries. Now, I get it. You might not actually care. And you know what? That's okay. But this is the last time I'm gonna bring you up as a disqualification in this, okay, fella? If you're not emailing in your finished entry photos, I'm not talking about your builds, because I don't know they exist, alright? It's as simple as that. If you want to be in the video, you gotta send your pictures. Simple as that, my brother. I mean, the daft thing is, you go back to like February when we had the Egyptian theme month. You submitted your pictures fine then. So I don't get it. I don't know what changed between now and, since February and now for you to be like, you know what, I love the community and the competition. I just love spending 4 weeks to build a build and do all this amazing work, and maybe in a chance for an honourable mention, shout out prize, or even the first place, prize myself. But I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to submit my pictures. So come on, Ian. Stop breaking my heart. Yes, so let us start this final month off strong, my friends, by looking at the work of the one, the only Michael Mersey. Oh, yes. And what can I say, Michael? When you're not setting fire to your cars last minute, they don't half look good, don't they? Does anyone remember that? I remember that. What was that, back in 2021, 2022? Yeah, it entered a car in about 20 minutes because he set fire to it. But we're not here to talk about that car. We're to talk about this wonderful chariot of King Chaz III. What can I say? I've always been a sucker for taking something like a Rolls Royce or just a real long car and sticking tank tracks on it. Because you do get some cars that we sort of joke as being like aircraft carriers on wheels, but then you actually put them in sort of scale and proportion with a tank, and it starts to ring true, doesn't it? What can I say? This is a really nice conversion. I love the turret work that you've done there. So this actually rotates. I kind of feel like if this is like the CEO of the Gaslands universe, I kind of feel like he'd be able to afford to have a machine gun through both headlights. So I don't know if that was more of an artistic choice, but I suppose this is the thing. This month, it's not strictly speaking, the king of the race, the man that rules it all from Mars. It can be, but it can also just be a high-level warlord or one of the many incredibly successful sponsors. I mean, this could be Rutherford. Well, maybe not. I mean, it's clearly Charles and Camilla, but the figures are just painted beautifully from what I can see of them. I think it just comes down to just maybe a bit more visual interest. Like you've got the coat of arms on the hood and you've got it on the flag. If you had it on the passenger and driver side doors, it would look a bit repetitive. But you've got these real flat blank areas on the sides of this build where you just need something. You just need something to as like a bit of visual interest for the eye to rest on. I suppose it's a tricky one when you're trying to do a build that sort of, this is the pleasure cruise vehicle. This is what he goes around in at the weekends to destroy the rabble, the survivors. He's not going to have it covered in tarpaulin and he doesn't need extra gasoline on this vehicle. This is a pleasure war machine. But at the same time, it's just a bit. I mean, you've got this cannon coming through the front radiator. What if you had like an ammunition feed or something? But then you could argue that it's hidden inside the turret and it's an autoloader and blah blah blah. Engineering. But what can I say? It's a fantastic build, Michael. Honestly, mate, you're. Especially compared to when you used to just set fire to your builds and submit them, you have come a long way, my friend. Oh yes, what a brilliant build! What a wonderful submission! Fantastic stuff. And then after Michael Mersey, we have, of course, that scourge of the seven seas. That's right, Hardo Pius and his entry, which I think, writings on the wall, heavily inspired by the People Eater from Mad Max Fury Road, with the multiple layered bumpers and grills, which is a look that I personally love. I will always love that look on a stretched limo. I think the use of a truck chassis and big chunky off-road tyres, I think that's a good choice for this, because at the end of the day, it's not driving down nicely tarmacked roads, it's driving across the rugged wasteland. There's a part of me that thinks that maybe you stretched out the limo a bit more, because I get the feeling like past the driver's side door, but before you get to the back, it looks like you've actually inserted like a good extra couple of feet of car to make it fit across the truck chassis, in which case that's really cool. However, we have got to talk about the fact that this is basically three colours, Hardo. This is a greeny brown with some bronze and more green and black, and that's it. It just kills me how you spend all this time doing this wonderful build, wonderfully detailed build. Like the bone of the horns, the wonderful stag horns at the front, is the same colour as the guy's skin manning the anti-aircraft gun, which just looks like it would be too heavy and isn't securely fastened and would just fall off if this thing went over a speed bump. Honestly, mate, I might just recommend you do away with that entirely. But then it's not armed with anything, is it? It's just that one gun on top, and it's a bit. It needed a bit more time, didn't it? There's a wonderful sort of thought here that it's. I think you spend a lot of time because it's a timed competition. We only have 4 weeks to do this. December, especially around Christmas and New Year, incredibly busy. Like you've only got so much time to build it and paint it. I get the feeling you spent a bit more time building it than you did painting it, and just sort of ran out towards the end. Because you look at those wheel wells around the rear tyres, and they're just flat black. There's no dusting, there's no dirt or grime or rust or anything at all. Mate, you gotta spend more time with that painting, Hardo, and it pains me because I think back to some of your previous entries from the last few years, and they are beautiful with the array of colours. And here I can count them on one hand. What can I say? It's a good build. I come to expect so much more of you, my friends. Like, come on, Hardo. So, after Hardo Pius, let us take a look at the work of a returning champion of this competition. That's right. I'm not talking about Matt Whittam. I'm not talking about David. No, I'm talking about Mick Van Fyven. Oh, yes. What can I say? Why mess with a classic? Just upscale the build that you did for May last year. Oh, Mick. What can I say? I think like this is the thing. It's a wonderful turbo-sized version of what worked before. But what kills me is I'll hold my hands up. I've never been a fan of the big knobbly tyres with studs all over them. It worked during punk rocker month because you get, punk leather jackets covered in studs and spikes and you name it. But on Wasteland wheels, really? Like it's normally something we put on after the fact. It's not something that we put on, during. I mean, at the end of the day, if choice of wheel is the only thing that lets this build down, you've done pretty good, my friend. You've done amazingly well. I mean, even the little skull, the little Games Workshop Warhammer skull that's just hidden just above the ram, just before the radiator. Like normally I look at that scale and I go, oh, it's the wrong size, wouldn't fit. But it's just so perfectly blended in to the rest of this build that it just works. It just works so nicely. Now, I did mention to you on Facebook, and I kind of wish that the exoskeleton that you made for this was a bit more pronounced. I mean, you've got the sort of straps holding on the front, but that's kind of it. And it's like, oh, I kind of wish you had something going up and around, but then that could have taken away from the exhaust work that you've done, which is really beautifully done, Mick. Like it is such a solid build, and I do get the feeling that these wheels roll as well. Like this isn't a fixed in place build, which is really nice to see. The paint job's fantastic, the weathering's fantastic. It is just the little aesthetic choices like the tyres. And I know that you scratch built them as well, like a lot of time went into them and it's like, but they're not for me at the end of the day. Like the hazard marks on the ram are so beautifully painted. It is so good to see you back in this competition, my friend. And you know that I want to see you taking part in the new year. The fifth season of this competition, 2024. You know I want to see you taking part, Mick. So welcome back, my brother. It is good to see you back on form, my friend. Oh, yes. But if we are talking about returning champions, how can I not talk about the work of Adam Pollard's entry from this month? Oh, yes. And his absolutely titanic, well, it's 4 wheels and a half track, isn't it? Like, this is a long, heavy-duty vehicle, and it really does show. Now, straight away, that sort of Panzer tank turret it does jump out a little bit as being a little bit historic and not quite the technological scale that we'd like for the Wasteland. However, look at the rust, look at the grime. This is not the CEO from Mars's ride, is it? This is not the whip of the owner of the race. No, no, no. This is the final boss. This is the big cheese. This is the takes out everyone that stands against him in a fair one-on-one race. So you have to take them out two at a time. You have to take them out as a group. Like, this is a real beast of an entry, isn't it? It's a stretched limo, half track, half tank, half everything. I do wonder. We get a few of these where you get these great big turrets plopped on top of the roof of the passenger compartment, and I do wonder about the structural engineering behind that. Like, because they're heavy things, tank turrets. They're not particularly light. You could have maybe sold the illusion a bit with like sort of panelling up either side there, but then that would take away from the limousine aspect of this. Speaking of which, you got all these wonderfully wide open windows. Other than glimpsing some chairs, maybe a person, maybe a driver or something. I mean, you got that clear front windscreen. We could maybe see inside. I don't know. What can I say? It is a wonderful build from this month, and I do love that rust paint job that you've done. It just helps break up that green so nicely. I mean, this is the thing, Adam. You just continue to push yourself and raise the bar, and I love it, and I love your work, and it's so good to see it taking part, my friend. And I cannot wait to see what you come up with for next year. Oh yes. And after Adam, how can I not talk about fellow member of the admin team? That's right, David Bousset and his cyberpunk six-wheeler stretched limousine. My goodness, David, yes, my friend, yes. And I know for months, I've been banging on at you about having some scratch-built armour plating and whatever, but on this build, it would not look right, would it? This three-engine monster that you've submitted. Honestly, what a work of art. What a beautiful build. And it's such a technical one as well. Like, you've had to take two of the same base car and chop them in bits and glue them together and continue those beautifully sleek body panel lines and all that work up and around the A-pillars to get those two engines to fit in at the front and not break up the contours. Like, mate, this is good stuff. This is up there. And I've said 100 times, I've been looking forward to seeing what your 12 of 12 all together looks like. And it is such an achievement, honestly, mate. Fair play to you. What a solid go at this year. It is not hard to see why you're on our admin team and why you've consistently smashed competition months in the past. I mean, even back in February, I mean, we had to wrangle you and Darren so that you couldn't just keep winning. Honestly, my friend. Fantastic work. It tears straight off of the screen of Blade Runner or Cyberpunk 2077, doesn't it? And all that pin washing around all the panel lines. Oh, honestly, wonderful work for this month, David. Wonderful work all through the year. And if we are talking about stretch limousines, how can I not talk about the positively presidential entry from Rob Churchill this month? Oh, yes. Oh, it's a hot tub on wheels, isn't it? Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, I want to strip away all the presidential entourage, all the motorbikers, because we're not counting them. This is all about the limousine. I love the stretch Cadillac look. I love the chandeliers over the headlights, because no one's done it yet. No one's, like, Escape from New York came out decades ago, and none of us have sat down and gone, how are we actually going to do chandeliers over the headlights? It needs to be done, but you have done it, my friend, and it looks wonderful. It is so blinged out. And it all looks so good. And there's so much action to this build as well. Like, it's not just the beautiful, like, girls and of course the CEO of Gaslands just taking a back seat there. Like, the fact that you've got this sort of, like, defensive armor mode where all these massive rockets just pop out from under the middle section. I do kind of wish that there was something kind of there that made it either less obvious that you had all this stuff hidden, or maybe a little more obvious, like maybe like a little little hazard sign or some stripes or something, just to kind of go, oh yeah, there's something dangerous under that hood. The metal armored kind of shielding that covers the CEO and his girls, it's not the best, is it? It's got a bit of the cardboard painted to look metal, kind of last minute sort of look to it. However, it does make a lot of sense. Like, it does have that transformation that you would want in a build like this. Again, amazing work on the driver and the passengers and the CEO himself enjoying some company. And I do like that hot tub. I wish there's a little bit of resin or something. Like, even you go to Poundland or Dollar Tree and you get some of that two-part epoxy that comes in the little tube that you squeeze out both bits at the same time. Mix a bit of that up, dollop that in there. As long as you get the stuff that dries clear, obviously. But honestly, mate, it's a solid build. It's an absolutely rock solid build, and I love it. Absolutely perfect for this month. But if we are talking about perfect, high concept, presidential builds, how can I not talk about Matt Whittam's entry for this month? Oh yes. Matt, you just continue to blow us away, don't you, with these months? My goodness. I was thinking back, I was looking through, because I'm doing like the sorting things out for the end of the year, and I looked back at your entry from back in January, and you just look at the transformation that you've had in this contest from the start of the year to now. And it is just eye-watering. Like, putting an LED and painting a car blue was where you were at the start of the year, and now you've got this like part scratch built, part 3D printed, part kit bashed, part Chinese cheapo toy car, hover vehicle that lands into this wonderful rugged off-road tank of a shell of a chassis that it rides around the post-apocalyptic wasteland in. It is so well done. It is so well done, Matt. Like, my goodness, you have just flown in this competition. And yes, I know that you are feeling the sting, the absolute burning pressure of not building any more cool combis. My other car is a cool combi. However, honestly, mate, wonderful work as always, and I love it. I love this build, and I love so many of the builds that you've done this year. I mean, it's not surprising you've won 3 of the 12 months so far, isn't it? The level, the superb bar that we have come to expect from you, my friend. Oh, yes. And after Matt Whittam, we have, of course, following up hot on his heels, your friend and mine, the fellow Matt Morrell's entry from this month. And if we've gone from giant wheels that the CEO would roll around, we've gone to giant wheels that the king of the wasteland would not feel ashamed rolling around in. Oh, yes. It is music to my ears to hear my dulcet tones being preached around the wasteland from this beautiful monstrous doof wagon that you've made. So well, my friend. The wonderful beer maiden there hanging out the window with an overflowing beer stein. Wonderful little conversion right there. And even then, that somewhat takes away from what you've created here, because this is not just inspired by the doof wagon. This is your own mad music monster, isn't it? This is a brilliant machine that you have brought us and brought to life and made work with the little speaker system and little circuit board and buttons and LED lights. And that's not even pointing out, like, you look at like the car body hidden away on the top there, like, this is a big workable machine. You got the big heavy duty truck taking all this weight on, but even so, it's built up with bits of cars and an actual car hidden up there. Like, honestly, what a fantastic entry, Matt Morrell. You continue to wow us with your builds and your ingenuity, and I love it, and I love everything that you do, and I want you to keep entering this competition, my brother. Oh yes. Now, I will say, as much of a fan as I am to see the return of the drilled out headlights, I have to point out that you continue to fall foul of the trap of one layer of silver paint and then calling it a day. I want to see highlights, but I do want to see you do more than just one pass of silver, my friend. And you can see on those areas where you've got the silver bars, that's just the base material of the bar, isn't it? Like the support bars around the wagon rider, the preacher of the apocalypse, but also the metal bars that you've got covering the actual speakers. Like, mate, you've got to learn painting metal because you can do it. You've got the paints to do it. Stop relying on just the base material or one pass and done. Like, let's see multiple layers of metallic paint and then a wash and then some highlights or even some rust. Because honestly, mate, it's the last step in your evolution because it's really good. Oh, fantastic stuff. And after Matt Morrow, we have, of course, that scourge of the sandy dunes. We are talking about Richard Fairbrass's entry for this month. Oh yes, oh Richard, what do you do to me? Look at the scope of this beast that you've brought us here today. So not only is it a dump truck on a monster truck chassis, it's also got all these wonderful little hand-painted signs, like all the sponsors that just conveniently spell out naughty words, while at the same time, just honestly, the amount that's going on here, it's a feast for the eyes. I think there are some aspects where I kind of wish instead of hand painting it, if you'd just done like a little printed off decal, like the Idris inside, like Intel inside logo, absolutely fine. But the Isuzu little mud flaps, mate, just they could have been just a little bit crisper, a little bit nicer if you just print them up and glue them on. I'm kind of wondering, with the giant Honda spoiler that you got on the back, on either side of it, was it an attempt at flames, painting on the little tiny white bits at the bottom? Because they don't really look like much of anything. And I get the feeling like there's a reference here, but I'm not seeing it, my friend. But no, I do love all the Easter eggs. I do love the Red Faction Renegade logo that you've painted on top there. I love the racing stripes. I love the giant log at the back. And I do love the little poor guy tied up at the front. It's just the little finishing touches, like clearing up, like the little flamethrower turret guy. He's just been destroyed, hasn't he? Because he's a torso, an arm, and a head. And I get the feeling like a bit of action's happened there, but we're not really seeing it. We're just seeing like a little stumpy guy just sat there next to the gun. So, just these little areas, just revisiting them and going, well, if he's meant to be obliterated, where's the blood splatter? Where's the gore? What can I say? A wonderful entry for this month, Richard. And as always, I cannot wait to see what you do for January's Car of the Month competition. Finally, my friends, it would be wrong of me not to look at the work of Ingvar Niebsen for this month. Oh, yes. And Ingvar, what can I say, my brother? I love it. I love this take on the classic Giga Horse. I love how green it is. I love, because you don't see many sort of beautifully green builds, like beautifully painted at this point. And what I mean by that is, like, you get the rusty metal, you get the black on black, you get the beautifully chrome, but you don't just get like a solid paint body like you've got here. Like, that green is something else. Those windows and the specular reflection, bruh, that is not great. They would have been better base black, but if you have to have the little highlights, you have got to have more gradation, because that is so stark. If you're doing a cell shaded thing, that's fine, I understand it, but those windscreens are the only part of this that's cell shaded. Everything else is just painted up beautifully, right? And it just kills me because it's one little, like a little R that's painted light blue, and that's it, that's all you've done. And it's like, mate, that it just takes so much away from this build. It just takes so much away. So quick answer, paint over it in black. But if you want to keep it there, just layer it up one layer at a time. I know it's a pain in the ass, but you've done it with the body, you've done it with the headlights, you've done it everywhere else it matters, like the tail lights. so you can do it on the windows as well. Maybe it's a time crunch thing. Maybe you got to the end because, like, you look at those engine covers and like the rocker covers, and they're just red. They're just candy red, and there's no shading. There's no nothing there, and you go, get a bit of dirt on the tyres, a bit of grime and rust, and you are there, my friend. As always, fantastic work. It's just taking it to the next level, Ingvar. Oh yes. And so here we are, my brothers. As always, as much as I'd love to, I can't talk about every single build. I have to pick a handful and focus in on them. But that said, enough waiting, enough beating around the bush, because start the drum roll, my friends, for the last time, because the winner of Gaslands UK's Car of the Month for December 2023 is Matt Whittam! Yes, congratulations, Matt. The first time in this competition's history we have had 4 months, 4 victories from you in a year, my friend. Oh yes, unheard of. In the 4th season we have 4 wins. Oh my goodness, what's that even called? That's not a full house, that's not a high five. I don't know, there'll be a term for it, but what can I say? What a wonderful build. I mean, is there a man here that would challenge this decision? Because look at this. For an end-level boss, the CEO, the king from Mars, to come to Earth for us puny Earthlings to dote upon us with his presence. It's a beautiful beast, isn't it? It just ticks every single box from this month. From the rust to the battle damage to the grime to the dirt in the tracks of the tyres, to the fact that this thing practically transforms. The CEO escape cabin just flies off into the sunset, and you didn't just leave the base of the build blank at that point. Like, you went in there, you painted hazard stripes and little lights and buttons and dials and all the little mechanisms to line this thing up so when it comes into land it can just slip in. It's a beautiful work of art that you've made here, Matt. And as I said earlier, this is what I'm talking about with the progression that you've made in this competition, because you look at your earliest builds and it is so refined now. Like, you've got the pin washes in perfectly, you've got the edge highlighting, the chipping, the rusting, the damage, the everything that makes this an authentic beast of the wasteland. And there's not a shadow of a doubt. You look at it and you think, yep, this is it. This is the last thing I'd have to fight. You know, if Gaslands was a game, this is the end boss. And it would be a horrendous raid, wouldn't it? It would take hours. For all my old World of Warcraft friends, this would be the kind of battle that would take you a day of fighting and min-maxing stats and coordinating abilities, because it's an absolute monster. I love it. Wonderful. 10 out of 10, Matt Whittam. Love it. Absolutely love it. Enjoy the £35 gift voucher that's on its way to you from Anvil Industries. Oh, yes. But if Matt Whittam has been knighted as our very first 4-time champion, then who has won second and who has won third? Well, weighing in at £600, with a build that's covered in rust and grime and wasteland attitude, who here will deny the beautiful work of Nick Kitch's entry for this month and second place? Oh yes. Honestly, mate, love it. Fantastic work. What a wonderful mishmash of bits and the work in progress that you've done here, like to elevate this truck into a true warlord's ride of the Armageddon. Like, there's not a weapon on here that doesn't look like it could do some terrible damage. And honestly, Nick, as I said back in August, I love your work, and you just continue to get better and better, and I cannot wait to see what you have in store for us next year. Enjoy the £25 gift voucher that's on its way to you, my friend. Oh yes. And in third place we have, as chosen by the sponsor, Anvil Industries, Clint Agius's entry for this month. Oh yes. Honestly, Clint, what a wild hover beast that you have submitted. It's bright, it's colourful, it's neon, and it's coming to get you. What can I say? Fantastic work. And enjoy the £15 gift voucher. Oh yes. And finally, in his infinite generosity, let it be known that Anvil Industries have given a honourable mention to the work of the one, the only, the voice of the Wasteland. That's right, Matt Morrill, and his entry for this month. Because who doesn't love a guy in a Speedo just giving it large on top of the world in the apocalypse? Absolutely fantastic. Wonderful work, Matt Morrill. And what can I say? It's first place in my heart as well, my friend. Oh yes. So enjoy the £10 gift voucher. And maybe next year you could finish off an entry for May, alright? And then you get the clean 12 of 12. You were so close. You were one off this year. Just one. Fantastic stuff. So yes, thank you, my brothers. Thank you all for watching. As 1 month ends, as 1 year ends, another is on the horizon. But just before that, as always, we have one last episode in store for you. Yes, so without any further ado, make sure you tune in later on this month so we can look at the winner of the 4th season. That's right, the final episode, the car of the year for 2023. Thank you, as always, to my fellow members of the admin team, Matt Reeve, Colin Harvard, David Bousset and Darren Phillips, and I will see you all in the new year, my brothers. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.